Many people are constantly stressed, angry, distracted, and emotionally exhausted. One small criticism ruins their entire day. One rejection makes them question their worth. One bad moment controls their peace. But then there are rare people who walk through chaos with calm eyes and a steady mind. People who don't break easily. People who stay focused when life becomes difficult. People who carry a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by noise, pressure, or fear. What if I told you that this strength is not something people are born with? It is built. And for thousands of years, one philosophy has helped ordinary people become mentally stronger, emotionally calmer, and spiritually unshakable. That philosophy is Stoicism. The Stoics understood something most people still fail to understand today. You cannot control everything that happens around you. But you can control who you become because of it. And in this video, you are going to discover 12 Stoic principles that can completely change your life if you truly apply them. These principles are not empty motivational quotes. They are practical lessons that can help you control your emotions, protect your peace, overcome toxic people, stop overthinking, and become mentally powerful in a world full of distractions. So before we begin, subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay until the end because one of these principles may completely change the way you see your life forever. Imagine waking up every morning without anxiety controlling your mind. Imagine no longer begging for validation. No longer reacting emotionally to everything. No longer allowing negative people to steal your energy. That is the power of discipline over the mind. The first thing the Stoics teach is simple but life-changing. Focus only on what you can control. Most suffering comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. People stress over opinions. Over the past. Over outcomes. Over things that may never even happen. A man once spent years trying to make everyone like him. He changed his personality constantly. He agreed with everyone. He feared rejection more than failure. But no matter how hard he tried, people still judged him. One day he realized something powerful. He was sacrificing his peace for something impossible. You cannot control how people see you. You cannot control every situation. You cannot control the future. But you can control your attitude. Your discipline. Your actions. Your character. The moment you stop fighting for control over everything, your mind becomes lighter. Another Stoic principle that changes lives is learning to master your emotions instead of becoming their slave. Most people react instantly. They react in anger. They react in jealousy. They react in fear. And later, they regret the damage. The Stoics believe that emotions themselves are not the enemy. The problem is allowing emotions to control your decisions. A king once insulted a philosopher publicly, hoping to provoke him. Everyone waited for the philosopher to explode in anger. But he simply smiled and walked away calmly. When someone asked why he did not react, he answered, "If a stranger hands you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the person who offered it." The philosopher said, "Then I refuse to accept his anger." That is strength. Not screaming. Not revenge. Not emotional chaos. Real strength is self-control. Because when you master your emotions, people lose the power to manipulate you. Another principle that can completely transform your life is accepting hardship as part of life. Most people expect life to always feel comfortable. And when pain comes, they panic. But Stoicism teaches that difficulties are not punishments. They are training. A tree becomes stronger against the wind. A sword becomes stronger through fire. And a person becomes stronger through struggle. There was a young man who lost everything after his business failed. His friends disappeared. His confidence collapsed. He thought his life was over. But during that painful season, he learned discipline. He learned patience. He learned how to survive without depending on applause from others. Years later, he admitted something shocking. He said the worst season of his life became the foundation of his strongest self. Pain changes people. But pain can either destroy you or build you. The choice is yours. Another Stoic principle says, stop seeking validation from others. This single lesson can free your mind. Too many people are living fake lives just to impress strangers. They buy things they cannot afford. They pretend to be happy while suffering inside. They fear being judged more than being unhappy. But the Stoics believed your value does not come from applause. Your value comes from your character. One old Stoic teacher lived in a tiny house with very little money. Yet kings visited him for wisdom. Why? Because peace attracts respect more than status ever will. The world teaches people to chase attention. Stoicism teaches you to chase inner peace. And there is a massive difference between the two. One disappears quickly. The other stays with you forever. Another life-changing principle is learning the power of silence. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult needs a response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Strong people understand something weak people never learn. Silence can be power. A man once argued aggressively with an old Stoic master, insulting him repeatedly. The old man stayed calm and silent. Eventually the angry man became frustrated and left. The students asked the master why he said nothing. He answered, "When a donkey kicks you, do you kick back?" Many people destroy their peace trying to win arguments that do not matter. Stoicism teaches you to protect your energy carefully. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Another Stoic principle is remembering that life is temporary. This may sound dark at first. But it is actually one of the most freeing ideas ever. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that life is short. Not to create fear, but to create urgency. Because when you realize time is limited, you stop wasting it on meaningless things. You stop holding grudges for years. You stop delaying your dreams. You stop tolerating fake relationships. A man spent decades chasing money while ignoring his family. He believed he would enjoy life later. But later never came. When he became old and sick, he realized he had spent his entire life preparing to live instead of actually living. Stoicism teaches you to appreciate the present moment deeply. Because every day is a gift most people take for granted. Another principle that changes lives is discipline over motivation. Motivation is temporary. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you feel lazy. Some days you feel tired. But discipline keeps you moving even when emotions disappear. A warrior does not train only when he feels motivated. He trains because consistency creates strength. A writer becomes successful by writing consistently. An athlete becomes great by training consistently. A peaceful mind is built through daily habits consistently. The Stoics believed freedom comes from self-discipline. Because if you cannot control your own mind, your desires will control you. And desires without discipline create destruction. Another Stoic principle is choosing your circle wisely. The people around you influence your thoughts, habits, and future more than you realize. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, gossip, laziness, and drama, eventually your mind absorbs it. A young man once asked a Stoic teacher why he kept avoiding certain people. The teacher replied, "If you place clean water into a dirty container, what happens?" The young man answered, "The water becomes dirty." The teacher smiled. Exactly. Protect your mind. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Some people only bring confusion, stress, and emotional exhaustion. And one of the most powerful things you can do is walk away peacefully from toxic environments. Another Stoic lesson says, "Do not fear being alone. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships and fake friendships simply because they fear loneliness. But Stoicism teaches that peace in solitude is better than chaos in bad company. A wise man sitting alone with peace is far stronger than someone surrounded by people yet emotionally empty inside. Learn to enjoy your own company. Learn to sit with your thoughts. Learn to grow without constant distractions. Because when you become comfortable alone, you stop tolerating people who disturb your peace. Another powerful Stoic principle is gratitude. Most people focus constantly on what is missing. They complain about what they do not have while ignoring the blessings already around them. The Stoics practice gratitude daily because they understood something important. A grateful mind becomes peaceful. A greedy mind never rests. There was a poor man who constantly complained about his life until one day he visited a hospital filled with people fighting for their lives. Suddenly he realized he still had something precious. Time. Breath. Opportunity. And from that moment, his perspective changed completely. Gratitude changes how you see life. The same life can feel like a prison or a blessing depending on your mindset. Another Stoic principle is becoming less attached to outcomes. This lesson is incredibly powerful. Many people suffer because they become emotionally attached to specific results. They say, "I must succeed immediately. This relationship must work. Everything must go according to my plan." And when life changes direction, they collapse emotionally. But Stoicism teaches this. Do your best. Control your effort. Then let go of the outcome. Because life does not always follow your script. A farmer once lost his horse. People told him it was bad luck. He replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse returned with several wild horses. People called it good luck. Again he said, "Maybe." Later his son broke his leg while training one of the horses. People called it terrible luck. Again he answered, "Maybe." Soon after, soldiers came to recruit young men for war, but his injured son was spared. The lesson is simple. You do not always know whether events are blessings or lessons. So remain calm. Life unfolds in ways you cannot always understand immediately. Another Stoic principle that can transform your life is speaking less and listening more. Most people listen only to reply. Very few listen to understand. Wise people observe carefully. They think before they speak. They do not waste energy trying to prove themselves constantly. A quiet mind sees clearly. The Stoics believed unnecessary talking often creates unnecessary problems. Sometimes silence teaches more than endless words. Another important principle is refusing to become bitter because of pain. Life hurts everyone. Some people betray you. Some people disappoint you. Some dreams fail. But Stoicism teaches you not to let pain turn your heart cold. A man who was betrayed deeply once asked a Stoic master how to stop hating people. The master told him, "Do not drink poison hoping the other person dies. Hatred destroys the person carrying it. Forgiveness does not mean accepting bad behavior. It means freeing yourself from emotional chains. Peace becomes possible when you stop carrying bitterness everywhere." And finally, one of the greatest Stoic principles is becoming the architect of your own mind. Most people allow the world to program their thoughts. Social media controls their emotions. Opinions control their confidence. Fear controls their choices. But Stoicism teaches that your mind is your greatest weapon. Protect it carefully. Feed it wisdom. Train it daily. Discipline it constantly. Because a strong mind can survive almost anything. A weak mind breaks under everything. At the end of your life, people will not remember how loudly you complained. They will remember how you carried yourself through difficult times. They will remember your calmness. Your strength. Your character. And that is what Stoicism is truly about. Not pretending emotions do not exist. but becoming strong enough that emotions no longer control your destiny. Imagine how different your life could become if you truly practiced these principles daily. You would stop reacting emotionally to small things. You would stop chasing validation. You would protect your peace more carefully. You would become mentally stronger than most people around you. And slowly, your entire life would begin to change. Not overnight, but through small daily choices. Because true transformation is never instant. It is built quietly, day by day, thought by thought, decision by decision. So from today, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? Someone controlled by fear, anger, and distractions? Or someone calm, disciplined, wise, and unshakable? The choice is always yours. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the outside world while completely ignoring the world inside their own mind. They blame society. They blame their family. They blame bad luck. They blame difficult circumstances. And yes, life can be unfair. But the Stoics believed something incredibly important. Your power begins the moment you stop blaming everything outside yourself. Because when you blame everything around you, you give away your power. But when you take responsibility for your thoughts, actions, habits, and decisions, you become dangerous in the best possible way. A young man once complained constantly about his miserable life. Nothing ever seemed good enough. Every setback became proof that life was against him. One day, an old Stoic mentor handed him a small seed and said, "This seed contains the potential for a mighty tree. But if it refuses to face storms, rain, darkness, and harsh seasons, it will never grow." The young man finally understood. Growth requires discomfort. You cannot become mentally strong while avoiding every challenge. You cannot become wise while running away from pain. And you cannot build peace while feeding your mind with negativity every single day. Stoicism teaches you to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift changes everything. Another principle the Stoics lived by was protecting the mind from useless distractions. Look at the world today. People wake up and immediately check their phones. They compare their lives to strangers online. They consume endless negativity, gossip, drama, and fake lifestyles. And slowly, without realizing it, their minds become restless and exhausted. The Stoics understood that what you feed your mind daily becomes your reality. If you constantly feed your mind anger, fear, envy, and distractions, your peace disappears. But if you feed your mind discipline, wisdom, patience, and purpose, your life begins to transform. A warrior preparing for battle does not spend his time entertaining foolishness. He sharpens his weapon. And your mind is your weapon. Protect it carefully. Another Stoic lesson that can completely change your life is understanding that not everyone will understand your journey. Sometimes you will grow. Sometimes you will change. Sometimes you will outgrow environments and people you once felt connected to. And that is part of life. One man decided to stop drinking, stop gossiping, and focus seriously on improving himself. Instead of encouraging him, some of his friends mocked him. Why? Because your growth reminds some people of their own lack of discipline. The Stoics knew that standing apart from the crowd often feels lonely at first. But remember this. The crowd is not always right. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk alone with wisdom instead of following a noisy crowd toward destruction. Another powerful Stoic principle is learning to remain calm during chaos. Anyone can stay peaceful when life feels easy. But your true character appears during difficult moments. A ship is not tested in calm waters. It is tested during storms. A Stoic does not panic immediately when problems appear. He pauses. He thinks clearly. He controls his emotions before taking action. Because panic creates mistakes. Calmness creates solutions. There was a captain sailing through a violent storm while everyone on board screamed in fear. But the captain remained calm. Later someone asked him why he did not panic. He replied, "My fear would not stop the storm. But my calmness helped me guide the ship." That is Stoicism. Not denying difficulty, but refusing to lose control because of it. Another principle that changes lives is understanding the danger of ego. Ego destroys peace. Ego makes people unable to apologize, unable to learn, unable to grow. The Stoics believed wisdom begins when pride becomes smaller. A man once became wealthy and successful and started treating others with arrogance. He believed money made him superior. Then one day he lost everything unexpectedly. The same people he once ignored now ignored him. And for the first time, he realized how temporary status truly is. Stoicism teaches humility. Because fame fades. Money disappears. Beauty changes. But character remains. Your true worth is revealed not by what you own, but by how you behave when life becomes difficult. Another powerful lesson is learning not to fear failure. Most people never chase their dreams because they are terrified of failing. But the Stoics viewed failure differently. To them, failure was not proof of weakness. It was proof of effort. Every strong person you admire failed many times before succeeding. A child falls before learning to walk. A fighter loses before becoming stronger. A leader makes mistakes before becoming wise. Failure is not the opposite of growth. Failure is part of growth. A sculptor once spent months shaping a beautiful statue. During the process, pieces of stone constantly broke away. Someone watching asked, "Why are you destroying so much of the stone?" The sculptor smiled and answered, "I am not destroying it. I am revealing what was hidden inside." Life works the same way. Hardships remove weakness. Pain reveals strength. Discipline reveals character. And often, the strongest version of yourself is hidden beneath years of comfort, fear, and excuses. Another Stoic principle says, "Never become a prisoner of pleasure." Many people destroy their lives chasing temporary pleasure. Endless entertainment. Endless comfort. Endless distractions. But temporary pleasure often creates long-term suffering. The Stoics practiced self-control because they understood that discipline creates freedom. A man who cannot control his desires eventually becomes controlled by them. Think about it. A person addicted to approval becomes controlled by opinions. A person addicted to comfort avoids growth. A person addicted to pleasure loses focus and purpose. Stoicism teaches balance. Enjoy life, but do not become enslaved by your cravings. Another powerful principle is accepting criticism wisely. Not all criticism should destroy your confidence. Some criticism is useless noise. Some criticism contains truth that can help you improve. The Stoics believed emotionally weak people either collapse from criticism or become defensive immediately. But wise people examine criticism calmly. If it is false, ignore it. If it is true, improve yourself. A philosopher once heard people insulting him publicly. Instead of becoming angry, he simply asked himself, "Are they correct?" When the answer was no, he moved on peacefully. When the answer was yes, he improved himself. That is emotional maturity. Not reacting to every opinion like your identity depends on it. Another Stoic principle that changes lives is learning to appreciate simplicity. Modern society constantly tells people they need more to be happy. More money. More attention. More possessions. More status. But the Stoics discovered something powerful. Peace does not come from having more. Peace comes from needing less. One wise man lived a simple life with very few possessions. Someone asked him, "How can you be so happy with so little?" He answered, Because I do not need much to feel rich. Many people are surrounded by luxury yet feel empty inside. Why? Because external things can never permanently satisfy internal emptiness. Real peace comes from within. Another important Stoic lesson is patience. Everything meaningful takes time. A tree does not grow overnight. Strength does not appear instantly. Wisdom takes years to develop. But modern people want immediate results. Immediate success. Immediate happiness. Immediate recognition. And when life moves slowly, they quit. The Stoics understood that patience is part of strength. A blacksmith repeatedly strikes metal with a hammer before shaping a sword. One strike alone changes nothing. But repeated effort creates transformation. Your habits work the same way. Every disciplined choice matters. Every small improvement matters. Every day you refuse to quit matters. Eventually, those small actions shape your destiny. Another Stoic principle is guarding your peace from unnecessary drama. Some people constantly carry chaos everywhere they go. They gossip. They create conflict. They enjoy negativity. And if you are not careful, they will pull you into emotional exhaustion. The Stoics believed peace is too valuable to waste on pointless drama. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every conflict deserves your attention. Not every person deserves access to your emotions. Protect your inner peace like treasure. Because once your mind becomes peaceful, you realize how exhausting unnecessary conflict truly is. Another life-changing Stoic lesson is accepting yourself while still improving yourself. Many people secretly hate themselves because they compare their lives to others constantly. But Stoicism teaches you to focus on becoming better than your previous self, not better than everyone else. Comparison steals joy. There will always be someone richer, smarter, more successful, more attractive. But someone else's success does not reduce your value. Your journey is unique. Focus on your growth. Focus on your discipline. Focus on your purpose. Because true confidence is built quietly through self-respect. And self-respect comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, your confidence grows. Every time you walk away from toxicity, your strength grows. Every time you control your emotions instead of reacting impulsively, your wisdom grows. This is how Stoicism transforms people. Quietly. Powerfully. Daily. And one day, people notice something different about you. You no longer react emotionally to everything. You no longer chase approval desperately. You no longer allow negativity to control your peace. You become calmer. Stronger. More focused. Not because life became easier, but because you became wiser. So if you are still watching, understand this clearly. Your future depends heavily on what you practice daily. If you practice anger daily, anger becomes your personality. If you practice discipline daily, discipline becomes your identity. If you practice peace daily, peace becomes your power. Every thought shapes your mind. Every habit shapes your future. Every decision shapes your character. And the beautiful thing about Stoicism is this. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You simply need to begin. One calm decision at a time. One disciplined habit at a time. One wise response at a time. That is how transformation starts. There is a reason why calm people are often misunderstood. The world is so addicted to noise that silence feels strange. The world is so addicted to emotional reactions that self-control looks unnatural. But the Stoics understood something most people never realize. You do not have to attend every emotional battle you are invited to. Think about how much energy people waste daily. Arguing online. Trying to prove themselves. Seeking revenge. Obsessing over what others think. And in the process, they lose the most valuable thing they have. Inner peace. A wise Stoic once said that if someone succeeds in making you angry, they become your master. That is powerful. Because many people believe strength is controlling others. But true strength is controlling yourself. Imagine someone insults you, mocks you, doubts you. Most people react immediately because their emotions control them. But a Stoic pauses. Not because they are weak, but because they understand that emotional control is power. A lion does not panic when dogs bark. And when you truly understand your value, you stop feeling the need to react to every opinion thrown at you. Another Stoic principle that can completely change your life is learning to separate what is essential from what is meaningless. Most people spend years chasing things that do not truly matter. Attention, status, temporary pleasure, validation from strangers. Meanwhile, they ignore the things that actually create a meaningful life. Peace, character, purpose, wisdom, good relationships, a healthy mind. A wealthy man once spent his entire life building an empire but neglected his family, health, and peace of mind. One day he sat alone in a massive house filled with luxury and realized something painful. He had everything except happiness. The Stoics believed a successful life is not measured only by money or status. It is measured by the quality of your character and the peace within your soul. Because if success destroys your peace, it is not true success. Another life-changing Stoic lesson is this. Stop overthinking every possibility. Overthinking is one of the biggest thieves of peace. People create disasters in their minds that never even happen. They replay conversations repeatedly. They fear imaginary futures. They analyze every detail until they become mentally exhausted. The Stoics taught that worrying excessively about the future destroys your ability to live in the present. A man once asked a Stoic teacher, "How do I stop worrying about tomorrow?" The teacher answered, "By handling today wisely." That is the secret. Most anxiety comes from trying to mentally control a future that does not yet exist. Instead, focus on the present moment. Focus on what you can do now. Focus on your actions today. Because your future is built from your present habits. Another powerful Stoic principle is learning how to endure discomfort. Modern society encourages people to avoid discomfort at all costs. People want comfort constantly. Easy results. Easy pleasure. Easy success. But nothing valuable grows in comfort forever. Muscles grow through resistance. Wisdom grows through mistakes. Character grows through challenges. A young warrior once asked his master how to become mentally strong. The master took him into freezing water and told him to stay calm. The young man panicked immediately. But over time, he learned to control his breathing, calm his thoughts, and endure discomfort without fear. The lesson was simple. Your mind becomes stronger every time you face difficulty without running away. Stoicism teaches resilience. Not because life is always harsh, but because difficult moments are guaranteed. And when those moments arrive, mental strength becomes priceless. Another Stoic principle says, do not allow success to make you arrogant or failure to destroy you. Both success and failure are temporary. A person who becomes arrogant during success loses wisdom. A person who collapses during failure loses hope. The Stoics remained balanced through both victory and defeat. Imagine a mountain standing firm through storms, sunlight, wind, and rain. That is the Stoic mindset. Stable. Grounded. Unshaken by temporary circumstances. Because external situations constantly change. But your inner character can remain steady if you train your mind properly. Another important Stoic lesson is becoming careful about the stories you tell yourself. Your thoughts shape your reality more than you realize. Some people constantly repeat negative stories in their minds. I am not good enough. Life is against me. I always fail. Nothing ever works out for me. And eventually, those thoughts become beliefs. The Stoics believe that while you cannot always control events, you can control how you interpret them. Two people can face the same difficulty and experience completely different outcomes. One becomes bitter. The other becomes wiser. One gives up. The other grows stronger. The difference often begins inside the mind. A man loses his job. One person says, "My life is over." Another says, "This is an opportunity to rebuild myself." Same situation. Different mindset. Different destiny. That is why Stoicism teaches awareness of your thoughts. Because the mind can either become your prison or your greatest source of freedom. Another principle that changes lives is learning the value of moderation. Too much of anything can destroy balance. Too much anger destroys peace. Too much pride destroys wisdom. Too much pleasure destroys discipline. The Stoics believed balance creates stability. A calm life is not built through extremes. It is built through wise choices repeated consistently. Another Stoic lesson that many people desperately need today is this. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people waste years trying to make everyone understand them. But the truth is simple. Some people misunderstand you because they want to. Some people judge you no matter what you say. Some people only see what matches their own mindset. Stoicism teaches you to stop exhausting yourself trying to control people's opinions. Live honestly. Act with integrity. And let your character speak louder than endless explanations. A tree does not stop growing because someone dislikes its shade. Another powerful principle is protecting your time. Time is one of the few things you can never recover. Money can return. Opportunities can return. But wasted time is gone forever. Yet many people waste years on meaningless distractions. Endless scrolling. Pointless arguments. Toxic relationships. Fear of starting. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that life is temporary because they wanted to live intentionally. A philosopher was once asked, "What is the most valuable thing a person can lose?" He answered, "Time, because most people lose it without realizing it." Think about that carefully. Every day you wake up is another chance to improve yourself. Another chance to become wiser. Another chance to build the life you truly want. Do not waste that gift. Another Stoic principle is learning to become emotionally independent. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means your happiness should not depend completely on other people. Too many people give others full control over their emotions. If someone praises them, they feel worthy. If someone ignores them, they feel broken. That is dangerous. The Stoics believed your peace should come from within. Because if your happiness depends entirely on external things, your emotions will always remain unstable. Learn to enjoy your own presence. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to stand strong even when nobody applauds you. That is real confidence. Another powerful lesson is understanding that setbacks are often hidden preparation. Sometimes life delays things for a reason. Sometimes rejection protects you. Sometimes failure redirects you. Sometimes pain prepares you for wisdom you could not gain any other way. A man desperately wanted a certain opportunity but lost it unexpectedly. At first he felt destroyed. Years later, he realized losing that opportunity forced him onto a path that completely transformed his life for the better. What feels like punishment today may become wisdom tomorrow. That is why Stoicism teaches patience during uncertainty. Not everything makes sense immediately. Sometimes life reveals the meaning later. And finally, perhaps the greatest Stoic lesson of all is this. Your peace is your responsibility. Not the government. Not your family. Not society. Not strangers online. You. You must protect your mind. You must guard your habits. You must choose your responses carefully. Because peace is not found accidentally. It is built intentionally. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you build peace. Every time you choose calmness over anger, you build peace. Every time you let go of unnecessary drama, you build peace. And slowly, your entire life changes from the inside out. One day people will notice something different about you. You no longer react to everything emotionally. You no longer chase attention desperately. You no longer panic over temporary problems. You move differently. You think differently. You carry yourself with quiet strength. That is the power of Stoicism. Not loud motivation. Not fake perfection. But deep inner strength built through wisdom, discipline, patience, and self-control. So if you made it this far, understand this. Your mind can either become your greatest enemy or your greatest weapon. Train it wisely. Share your thoughts in the comments and tell me which principle you needed to hear the most today. And subscribe to the channel for more life-changing Stoic wisdom that will help you become calmer, stronger, wiser, and mentally unstoppable in a world full of chaos. Remember this forever. A peaceful mind creates a powerful life.